Someone attacks your character, questions your motives, calls you out in front of others. What's your first instinct? If you're like 99% of people, you immediately start explaining yourself. That's not what I meant. You've got it all wrong. Let me clarify. But here's what Machiavelli knew 500 years ago that will blow your mind. The moment you defend yourself, you've already lost the war. You've just handed your enemy the keys to your destruction. Yes, you heard that right. Never defend yourself. This isn't about being passive or weak. This is about wielding a psychological weapon so powerful that Machiavelli built entire kingdoms with it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the strongest people you've ever met never explain themselves, never justify their actions, and somehow, everyone respects them more for it. What you're about to discover will fundamentally change how you handle conflict forever. The invisible trap everyone falls into. Let's be clear about something. Explaining yourself almost never changes minds. What it actually does is give your power away. Because when you make excuses for what you do, you're playing their game. You're going along with how they see things. You're basically saying, without knowing it, you get to judge me. And once they have that control, they run the story. Let me destroy the biggest lie you've been sold. That defending yourself proves your innocence. Wrong, dead wrong. When you rush to explain your actions, you're actually broadcasting 3 devastating messages to everyone watching. First, you're admitting you're weak enough to need validation from your accusers. Second, you're accepting their authority to judge you. Third, you're playing by their rules on their battlefield. And on their battlefield, they've already won. Think about it. Have you ever convinced someone who was already against you by explaining yourself? Of course not. Because defense isn't about truth. It's about power. And the person demanding explanations already holds the power. Machiavelli understood something brutal about human nature. People don't attack the strong. They attack those they believe will crumble under pressure. The moment you defend, you confirm their suspicion. You prove you can be broken. Here's where most people get this completely backwards. The psychology of perception control. When someone accuses you of being arrogant, manipulative, or selfish, and you immediately say, "No, that's not true," you've just done something catastrophic. You've made their opinion matter more than your own reality. Here's what the elite understand. Perception isn't about truth. It's about who controls the narrative. And whoever speaks first in defense has already lost control of that narrative. Machiavelli discovered that the most dangerous people aren't those who fight back. They're those who don't need to. Because when you remain unmoved by accusations, something psychological happens in the minds of everyone watching. They start asking themselves, why isn't he reacting? What does he know that we don't? Is he above this somehow? This is the power flip. Instead of you proving your innocence, they start questioning their own judgment. The secret? Mystery is more powerful than clarity. When you don't explain, people fill in the blanks, and they almost always overestimate your power. The secret? Mystery is more powerful than clarity. When you don't explain, people fill in the blanks, and they almost always overestimate your power. Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real scenarios. The social battlefield, where silence becomes your weapon. You walk into a room. Someone takes a shot. Oh, great. Here comes Mr. Perfect with another one of his brilliant ideas. Everyone turns to you, waiting for your response. This is the moment that separates the powerful from the powerless. The average person gets defensive. They laugh awkwardly. They try to deflect with humor. They explain themselves. They basically announce to the room, "That hit landed. I'm wounded. The Machiavellian? He does something that freezes the entire room. He pauses. He looks at the attacker with calm, almost amused detachment. And then, nothing. Complete, unshakable silence. What happens next is pure psychology. The attacker starts to squirm. The room shifts uncomfortably. People begin questioning not your response, but their attack. Your silence just made their insult look petty, desperate, and weak. Because here's what Machiavelli knew. People aren't watching the accusation. They're watching your reaction. And when your reaction is complete composure while theirs is emotional chaos, you've just demonstrated who really holds the power. But what happens when ignoring isn't enough? That's when we deploy the nuclear option. The reversal, making them defend against their own attack. Sometimes silence isn't enough. Sometimes you need to go nuclear. This is where Machiavelli's true genius shows. Instead of defending against the accusation, you make the accusation reveal their weakness. Someone calls you manipulative? You respond with deadly calm. Interesting that you see influence as manipulation. Says more about you than me. Someone says you're arrogant. I've noticed that confidence makes insecure people very uncomfortable. Someone calls you fake? People usually say that when they stop getting what they want from me. Watch what just happened. You didn't deny anything. You turned their attack into a mirror that reflects their own insecurities back at them. This is psychological judo. You used their own force against them and made them destroy themselves with their own weapon. Words as tools of misdirection. Machiavelli grasped a principle that eludes most minds. Language serves not to illuminate reality, but to shroud it. When adversaries strike at you, whether through whispers or open assault, their goal is simple: trap you in the maze of your own responses. They seek to pull you into frantic justification because the moment you begin defending, you signal weakness. So let the void speak for you. What unfolds? They stumble into excess. They circle back endlessly. They begin appearing frantic, volatile, unhinged. Your silence costs nothing. Yet suddenly they stand exposed to scrutiny because observers aren't weighing arguments. They're measuring composure against chaos. This is influence in its purest form. It doesn't spring from correctness. It emerges from remaining beyond their reach. The business world is where this gets really interesting. Professional domination. The boardroom power play. Picture this. You're in a meeting. A colleague undermines you. I'm not sure John's strategy is really thought through. He tends to jump into these ambitious projects without considering the risks. The typical response: panic, explanation, justification. Actually, I've done extensive research. The data clearly shows. I've considered every angle. Wrong move. You just validated their frame and put yourself on trial. The Machiavellian response? Lean back, slight smile, perfect composure. I'd love to hear your alternative strategy, Sarah. Game over. Now she's under the spotlight. You flipped the entire dynamic without defending a single point. This is how real power operates. You don't prove you're right. You make others prove they're worth your time. In relationships, this principle becomes even more dangerous. Emotional warfare, the relationship power dynamic. Your partner says, "You don't care about me anymore. You're always distant." This is an emotional trap. They want you to panic, to reassure, to explain your feelings, to prove your love. The Machiavellian approach? Calm acknowledgement without acceptance. I don't see it that way. Then silence. Let them feel the weight of their own accusation hanging in the air. This isn't cruel. It's strategic. You're maintaining your power while forcing them to reconsider their position. They wonder if they were being too dramatic. They begin to doubt their own perception because your unshakable calm suggests they might be wrong. But sometimes you need to disappear entirely. The ghost protocol, when absence becomes your presence. Here's the coldest tactic in Machiavelli's arsenal: strategic disappearance. Someone insults you online, attacks your character, your move. Complete radio silence. Don't block them. That shows they affected you. Simply vanish from their reality as if they never existed. This breaks people in the most profound way. They start spiraling, posting more, trying desperately to bait a reaction. Meanwhile, you remain perfectly still, watching them destroy their own credibility while trying to reach you. Let's get surgical about public confrontations, public scenarios, the theater of power. Picture yourself at a dinner party. Someone decides to make you the entertainment. Oh, here's John, always thinking he's smarter than everyone else. The Machiavellian move? Pause for exactly 2 beats. Look at your attacker with mild curiosity, then deliver something ice cold. You seem to have strong feelings about this, or simply interesting. The attacker realizes their emotional investment is on full display while you appear completely unbothered. Suddenly they look like the one with the problem, and you look like someone who's above petty drama. Now let's talk about the most dangerous trap of all, the validation trap, why defense equals guilt. Here's the brutal truth that will change everything. The world has programmed you to believe that defending yourself proves your innocence. But psychologically, it proves the exact opposite. When you rush to explain, justify, or clarify, you're sending 3 devastating signals. First, you believe their opinion matters more than your reality. Second, you accept their authority to judge you. Third, you're acting like someone who has something to hide. Think about it. Innocent people don't usually need to prove their innocence. Guilty people do. When you immediately jump into defense mode, you're unconsciously mimicking the behavior of someone who actually did something wrong. This is the validation trap Machiavelli understood centuries before modern psychology confirmed it. The moment you chase innocence, you admit guilt. The moment you seek approval, you confess inadequacy. The moment you explain yourself, you surrender your power. The truly innocent don't defend. They're simply confused by the accusation. The truly powerful don't explain. They're amused by the demand for explanation. In the digital age, this principle becomes even more powerful. Digital warfare, the online battlefield. Social media has created a new arena where reputations are built and destroyed in real time. When someone tries to cancel you, your instinct might be to craft a long, detailed response explaining your side. Fatal mistake. Long explanations look desperate. Detailed defenses look guilty. Instead, deploy strategic reframing. Someone calls you toxic. Post, they call you dangerous when they can't control you. Someone says you're manipulative. Influence threatens those who have none. You're not defending. You're redefining. You're taking their attack and turning it into a badge of power. Now they look bitter and obsessed, while you look unshakable and confident. The beauty of digital platforms is that the audience can see the entire exchange. When they see someone attacking you emotionally while you respond with calm precision, the narrative writes itself. You become the composed professional. They become the unhinged aggressor. Let me give you the 3 surgical tools for any situation. Ultimate power, 3 surgical weapons. When faced with any accusation, you have 3 precision instruments in your psychological arsenal. Weapon 1, the void, complete, absolute silence. This creates a psychological vacuum that forces your attacker to fill the space with their own insecurity. The void makes people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people make mistakes. Weapon 2. The redirect. Don't address their accusation. Question their motivation. Why does this matter to you so much? You've just flipped the spotlight from your alleged wrongdoing to their obvious obsession. Weapon 3. The mirror. Reflect their insecurity back at them with surgical precision. Confidence upsets the insecure. Your approval isn't required for my existence. These aren't defenses. They're power moves that say, you can't touch me. The key is choosing the right weapon for the right moment. Sometimes silence devastates. Sometimes redirection destroys. Sometimes mirroring annihilates. Master all three, and you become psychologically untouchable. Now let's destroy the biggest illusion about reputation. Strong versus good reputation. The power distinction. Here's a truth that will shatter everything you've been told about success. You don't need a good reputation to win. You need a strong one. The person with a good reputation is expected to be clean, soft, agreeable, constantly proving their virtue. The person with a strong reputation, they're not always liked, but no one dares move against them casually because they've established respect through strength. Machiavelli understood this distinction perfectly. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. A strong reputation means that even your silence feels like a decision. Even your calm feels dangerous. Secret that separates masters from amateurs. Mystery versus predictability, the ultimate power dynamic. You think being misunderstood is dangerous, but being predictable is infinitely worse. The misunderstood person has mystery, intrigue, and psychological depth. The predictable person is controllable. People who constantly explain themselves become predictable. People who justify every action become transparent. People who defend every accusation become readable. And readable people are controllable people. But the person who remains calmly misunderstood, they become fascinating. Others spend mental energy trying to figure them out. They create theories about your motivations, your strategies, your next moves. You become the puzzle everyone wants to solve, but no one can crack. Machiavelli knew this. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Gap between appearance and reality is where your power lives. Mystery creates respect. Predictability creates contempt. This is why the most powerful people in your life probably confuse you sometimes. They say less than you expect. They reveal less than you want. They explain less than you need. And somehow this makes them more compelling, not less. Mystery creates respect. Predictability creates contempt. Choose wisely. Here's what happens to your enemies when you master this. The enemy's self-destruction. When you refuse to defend yourself, something beautiful happens to those who attack you. They become consumed by your silence. They escalate their attacks, hoping to finally get a reaction. They become more dramatic, more desperate, more unhinged. And with every escalation, they expose more of their own weakness while you remain perfectly composed. The contrast becomes stark. They look emotional and out of control, while you look calm and untouchable. This is the Machiavellian endgame. You don't destroy your enemies, you let their obsession with you destroy them. You become the calm center while they spiral around you like a psychological hurricane. But this goes deeper than just tactics. The aura of untouchability. Eventually, you evolve beyond silence into something more powerful. Presence. An aura so composed, so unshakable, so far above petty accusations that attacks simply evaporate before they reach you. Yourself never to defend, never to explain, never to seek validation. You cross a psychological threshold where your very existence becomes your defense. Think about the most powerful people you've encountered. They don't explain themselves. They don't argue with critics. And somehow, people respect them more. That changes everything. The protection paradox. The more you explain yourself, the more alone you stand, because no one feels the need to defend someone who's already defending themselves. But when you remain silent and composed, something magical happens. Others start defending you. They say, "That was uncalled for. He didn't even respond and you're still attacking him." Suddenly they become your shield without you asking for it. This is Machiavellian leverage at its finest, letting the crowd argue your case while you remain above the noise. Blueprint, building your fortress, the daily practice. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. You build it like a fortress, stone by stone. Stone 1, never correct obvious provocations. Let insults echo in the silence. Your lack of reaction tells everyone that the attack didn't even register on your radar. Stone 2, respond to indirect shots with calm confusion, not offense. Is that how you see it? Delivered with perfect serenity dismantles their emotional attack. Stone 3, use closing phrases instead of defenses. Noted, think what you like. Time will tell. Each one ends the conversation without inviting debate. Stone 4, master your physical presence. Never twitch, flinch, or tense when attacked. Stillness is your armor, and the stiller you remain while others lose control, the more your power expands. Stone 5, become unpredictable through calmness. When people can't provoke you, they fear you because you become unreadable. A mirror that reflects their instability back at them. There's one final level that separates the elite from everyone else. The psychological breakdown. Why they attack you. Let's understand why people attack you in the first place. Machiavelli knew that aggression is always rooted in insecurity. People don't attack those they see as equals. They attack those they either fear or those they believe are vulnerable. When someone calls you arrogant, they're really saying, "Your confidence makes me feel small." When they call you manipulative, they mean, "You have influence that I wish I had." Every attack is a confession of their own inadequacy. Every attack is a confession of their own inadequacy. Understanding this gives you incredible power because you stop taking their words personally and start seeing them as psychological tells. They're showing you exactly where their weakness lies. The average person hears an attack and thinks, "I need to prove they're wrong." The Machiavellian hears an attack and thinks, "They just showed me how to break them." This is where the real psychological warfare begins, the anatomy of social dominance. Watch how power moves through social groups. It's never about the loudest person or the most aggressive. It's about the one who remains unaffected while others lose their composure. This person becomes the gravitational center that everyone else orbits around. In any social situation, there are three types of people: the reactors, the observers, and the controllers. The reactors get emotional and defensive. The observers watch and judge. The controllers remain calm and shape the entire dynamic through their presence alone. When you refuse to defend yourself, you automatically move from reactor to controller. You become the fixed point around which all the chaos revolves. Others may be loud, but you hold the real power because you're the only one who isn't being controlled by emotion. This is why Machiavelli emphasized that it is better to be feared than loved. Not because fear is inherently good, but because fear comes from unpredictability, and unpredictability comes from self-control in moments when others expect you to lose control. Let's talk about the long-term psychological effects. The compound effect, becoming unpredictable. When you consistently refuse to defend yourself over months and years, something profound happens to your reputation. People start attributing almost mythical qualities to you. They assume you must be incredibly secure, incredibly dangerous, or incredibly wise, possibly all three. Machiavelli would say, "The most dangerous person is not the one who hits first. It is the one who never has to." You will reach a time when the attacks stop, not because you fought back, but because people know they'll lose before they try. Your aura communicates, "I don't play defense. I let others hurt themselves while trying to get to me." This isn't just about individual interactions anymore. Your reputation starts preceding you. People warn others, "Don't try to mess with him. He doesn't even respond," which means he doesn't need to. They start treating you with a level of caution and respect that you never had to demand. This is the compound effect of Machiavellian principles. Each time you don't defend, you add another layer to your mystique. Each time you remain calm while others lose control, you strengthen your psychological fortress. Each time you let silence do your talking, you become more untouchable. Eventually, people stop testing you altogether because they've learned that attacking you only makes them look weak, while making you look stronger. The final Machiavellian principle, emotional immunity. Here's the final principle that Machiavelli would add to complete your transformation. Develop emotional immunity. This goes beyond not defending yourself. It's about reaching a state where attacks literally cannot reach you emotionally. You hear the words, you understand the intent, but they bounce off you like rain off a mountain. This isn't numbness, it's clarity. You see their attacks for what they really are, desperate attempts to bring you down to their level. Emotional immunity means their anger can't make you angry. Their chaos can't disturb your peace. You become like water, fluid, adaptable, but impossible to break. Your power transformation starts now. Every time you don't explain yourself, every time you hold still while the world spins around you, you become something they can't control, someone who answers to no one but themselves. This isn't theory. This is warfare. Psychological warfare where the strongest weapon isn't your sword, but your silence. Where the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemies, but watching them defeat themselves while trying to reach you. The next time someone attacks your character, questions your motives, or tries to put you on trial, remember this video. Remember that you have a choice. You can defend yourself and lose, or you can remain silent and watch them destroy their own credibility against your unshakable presence. The power is in your hands. The question is, will you use it? Drop a comment below and tell me about a time when someone tried to make you defend yourself. What happened? How will you handle it differently now? And if this video changed how you see power dynamics, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Next week, I'm revealing Machiavelli's most ruthless tactic for making enemies destroy themselves without you lifting a finger. Remember, in a world full of people desperate for validation, the one who needs, nothing becomes everything. That person can be you. That person should be you. That person will be you. Never defend yourself. Let your silence be your strength. Let your composure be your weapon. Let your mystery be your power. The game has changed. It's time you started winning it.